Hi, I'm Jeff Watson from Night Ranger. I'm here for Starlicks. We're going to have a lot of fun in the next half hour, so get ready, get your guitars out, sit back, and enjoy the show. The guitar I'm going to be playing today for the majority of this tape is the 1956 Gibson Les Paul that's been with me for many years. And I don't know if you can tell on the camera or not, but this thing is beat to hell. It's been touring with me for 4 years now. I bought this when it was brand new. It had been under a bed since 1957. Some guy sold it to me in a music store about 10 years ago, and it was in perfect condition, and I've pretty well trashed it, but it's been the best instrument I've ever owned. I've had a lot of work done on it, modifications. A friend of mine, Ronnie Montrose, put these pickups in for me, did a wonderful job. I put on new pickups and new knobs. But this guitar, it's really nice if you can find one guitar that you stick with for a long time, and you become very attached to it and feel very at home at it. In fact, that's the reason I'm playing on this tape today for the majority of it, is because it's the most comfortable guitar that I own. One of the other guitars I'm going to be using today is a Hamer Jeff Watson Model Flying V that Paul Hamer and Joe Dancing at Hamer Incorporated designed for me. And the pickups I'm using in all my guitars now are PJ Marks pickups that are humbucking pickups that are replacements for any double coil humbucking setup. They sound better than most pickups I've used yet, so I'm endorsing them and I'm using them on all my guitars now. Okay, the effects I'm using in my rack that I'm using live are basically there to make me sound as much as possible like the way I sound on the albums we do. I generally have duplicates on my rack of everything, so it may look like an impressive array, but I'm only using about 4 things. I have Rocktron Hush noise gates that I use to keep the noise level down when I'm switching between channels and all that. I have a Lexicon PCM 60 digital reverb system. I have a couple of those, one for backup. I have a stereo tap analog delay, which is made by ADA. I have the Korg 9-channel programmable digital delay system with the foot switch that I use during the show to switch between special effects. Behind that, when I'm on stage, I'm using the Nady top-of-the-line wireless systems, and I have backup units for that as well. The one box in the middle of my rack that says Wattstone, well, that's made by Alto Electronics in the East Bay. Brad just stuck that on there one day being funny with little letters. I put one on his that says Gil Rock, so we're even as far as that goes. The pedal board I have right down here is an EMB, which is made in Oakland, California, which allows me to switch between channels on my Korg digital delay without having to push the button 9 times to go from 1 to 9. I can just hit number 1 or number 9, and it's a true convenience. The amplifiers I'm using now are all Mesa Boogie amplifiers on stage. I've tried a whole bunch of different ones, and these have turned out to be the most consistently non-breakdown amps that I've ever had. I've had amps blow up in Japan. I've had them break down somewhere in Kansas, and it's hard to get amps fixed when you're in the middle of the cornfield. I've been using them now for about 2 years touring. They're reliable, and they sound really great. That's the one. You can make them sound just about like anything you want, but we get tones that match our album tones. The speaker cabinets I'm using on stage, you'll never see because they're caught up in a scrim and it looks like part of our ramps. But anyway, what's in there is I have 4 cabinets with 2 12s in each cabinet. 2 of the cabinets have 2 Celestions in each cabinet. 2 of them have 2 EV12Ms in each cabinet. Before we get started here, we got to make sure that we're in tune together. So what you want to do is, if you have a tuner at home, tune to a standard A440 as I am. If not, I'll go ahead and run through the strings here for you. We'll start with a high E. Go to the B, G, D, A, and low E. Now, if you didn't get those that time, just rewind the tape back a little bit and go through it again. Okay, now that we're in tune together, we're going to start out with some of the equipment, one of them being the guitar pick. I use a solid stainless steel pick made by David Reisner out of Texas. It's unbendable and has a very sharp point. I take a screwdriver and put a punch through it so I can hold on to it on stage because the lights are so hot and it becomes very slippery. I hold my pick in an unorthodox manner, which is up and down instead of flat like most people. So it's more like sawing across the strings. And I place my hand right here on the bridge for a pivot point. So you can move forward and go, and then mute by pulling your hand forward onto the string or back off. It's one of the first things you want to work on is how you hold the pick, how solid it is, and where you pivot your hand from, at least for my style of playing. Now that we've gotten the way you hold the pick down and where you place your hand, I want to work on the picking technique itself, which would be alternating picking. For an exercise for this, I start with an upstroke. You can start with a downstroke or whatever. But I start at the very first fret and go. do it the first fret, I do the same thing second fret, so on and so on, all the way up to the 12th fret. By that time, your hand should be real sore. You can increase your speed as you do it, as you get proficient at it, but don't try and go real fast if you can't make it sound perfect. Otherwise, it's going to sound real sloppy, and you won't accomplish anything. Something else I think we should go over before we get into licks is vibrato. It's really important in my mind that you have a really nice steady vibrato, because I hear a lot of guitar players that have really neat licks, but when it comes to holding a note, which really sweetens a solo anyway, they don't know how to vibrato. It sounds very that kind of stuff. Well, I learned to do it the very smooth. To do this, I'm actually putting my hand back behind the fingers and pivoting right here in the junction of my finger, between my finger and the thumb, right here. So, or up here. What you're doing is you're hitting a note, and if you're pulling up to a note, you have the option of going above and below the note. So you want to hit the note, you want to... the note you're hitting is... Now, when you're not pulling to hit a note, you're just going to it, you're going... All you can do is go above the note, because you can't go below it because you're just hitting on a single note right there. So what you want to do is you want to make it a more subtle vibrato so it doesn't sound like you're going real sharp. Like you can be... You're going out of tune, you want to make it... Real subtle. Another point about vibrato I want to make is that you have to mute the strings as you vibrato. For example, if you're pulling a string up, you want to... Which is not having any of the strings ringing, otherwise it sounds like... Without muting, you're going to have a bunch of crap in there. You want to hit all the strings covered with your first finger and be pulling with these two. I don't use just one finger when I vibrato. I use two for strength. I use both these to pull it up, so it's like... Understand? Good. Another thing is you want to be in a comfortable sitting position to play. If you're leaning back on your couch at night watching TV and practicing, you'll find that your arms get real tired and it seems really funky. You want to sit up in a chair, a good chair, across your legs, prop your guitar, and have it sitting straight. Because if it lays flat, it seems really bad, at least for me anyway. It's really uncomfortable. So that's another point I wanted to make. Okay, we're going to start out with lick number 1, which is going to be in the little instruction book with my picture on the cover. You know that one that came in the box? You want to look in there, it's going to say lick number 1, which is from Don't Tell Me You Love Me. The second half of the solo, the first half is Brad, the second half is me. It starts with a fast picking thing, which goes... Then it goes on into the second half. And that follows a chord change. It goes F sharp minor to D to E to D flat to D to A to B, then to G, then back to F sharp minor. But that's the first half of the solo. Now I'll do it for you really slowly. We're going to call this lick number 2. This is the lick at the very end of my solo and Don't Tell Me You Love Me. It goes something like this. This is a sequence that's played really quickly in that solo, but I'll show you how it goes real slowly. This is going to be lick number 3. and it's a solo from Sing Me Away, which is the second song on the first side of our Dawn Patrol album, which was our first album. I played this solo in the rhythm pickup position, so you get that nice warm sound. I'll show you how it goes. Now I'll play it for you real slowly so you can get a grasp of this thing. This is going to be lick number 4, and it's off a song called Eddie's Coming Out Tonight off the Dawn Patrol album, and it's an ascending sequence as opposed to the descending sequence I showed you from Don't Tell Me You Love Me. And it goes like this when it's played quickly. I'll show you how the lick goes slowly so you can use it as an exercise as well as learning the lick. It goes like this. This is going to be lick number 5 from the same song, Eddie's Coming Out Tonight. It's at the very end. Brad and I are doing this in harmony, but my part goes like this. This is lick number 6 from a song called Night Ranger, and it's a part of a trade-off solo that Brad and I do. Well, this is the third part of that solo, and it goes something like this. What this lick is more of a melodic sequence, and at the very end it gets very wise with that part that goes. So I'll show you how it goes real slowly so you can do it. This is going to be lick number 7. And this is the end of the song, or actually right before it breaks back down in the slow part, in the groove, dun, 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 dun. This is how we get into it. I start this off, and then Brad joins me into this for a harmony lick, which I'm not going to play, but I'll show you the parts that I'm doing. You know, that kind of lick is just sort of, that's kind of my personality. That's how I think of it and approach sometimes with solos. And I'm not sure if it makes any sense musically, but I just like the way it sounds to my ear. And that's one thing I was taught when I was working in a music store a long time ago, and I had a teacher. I asked him what the licks I was playing, if they were correct musically. He said, you know what, they're correct if they sound good. And he goes, they sound good to me. So that's the approach I took on this solo. I'll show you how it goes real slowly now. This is going to be lick number 8. And this is from one of the most fun solos I think I've done, which is Rockin' America, or You Can Still Rock in America is the full title, off our second album, Midnight Madness. And the first half of the solo, Brad does, then I start in the second half, and this is how I started out. Okay, I'm going to show you how that lick is played slowly now. You know, this lick was just made to set up myself for the 8-finger part. It's more like a prelude to the end of the solo, where it starts out slow and builds, and then climaxes at the end. Well, here's how it goes slowly. What I'm going to show you next is going to be the 8-finger technique, which is the second half of the Rockin' America solo. For this, it's better to stand up because the arm position and hand position is very awkward if you're sitting down. So let me switch guitars real quick here. Back on. This way you can hear me. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is going to be open D. Don't need a guitar pick for this. It's going to be an open D string lick, and the lick goes. The 8-finger technique that I'm playing here isn't specific scales that I wrote. It is a nice pattern that follows the underlying chords that the song is going through while I play the solo. And here it is slowly. Okay, this is going to be lick number 10, which is the second half of the end of the Rockin' America solo. And here it is at the speed it's being played. Okay, the reason I like to stand up for this sort of stuff, the 8-finger stuff, is because the angle of the hand is so much more convenient and it's less constricted as it is if you're sitting down, your hand is constricted up. You hang it like this and you have more of a straight angle on your arm. And how I'm getting the effect in the first place, if it's an open string, it'll look like... I pick it first on the 12th fret. So I'm starting it actually right here almost every time. For example, even for the last part I just did, I'll do it real slowly for you. See what I'm doing? I'm starting it right here. This is actually not the 12th fret, this is 14th fret, but I'm starting it there and sliding it going. So I'm starting here going. Then I repeat by going, and the string's vibrating enough by that time, so I was like. Then this is where it gets tricky. I pluck the 12th fret on the B string. So that's the tricky part, going from plucking the 14th fret to get up to this. That's one thing you want to work on, and I'm muting the whole time. See this finger right here? I'm muting all the rest of the strings. I'm going. So what's happening when I'm doing this? I'm going. I'm holding these strings down with my right hand. I'm going. The last finger. Then I pull the last finger off to the third finger. Pull the third finger off to the second finger. Pull the second finger off to the first finger. Pull this off. My left hand. So it's. This is going to be lick number 11, and this is from 7 Wishes, which is the first song on our new album. I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but it's done with the 8-finger stuff, so as long as I'm standing up, I might as well give it to you now. It's up here, it's starting up here high on the B string, and it's actually only using 4 fingers, so to call it 8 fingers, I'm lying. But it's 4 fingers, and I'm going... And real slowly what it is I'm doing the same thing I was telling you about before, where you pluck... with wherever you're starting with, wherever your first finger of your right hand is going to end up is where you pluck from, basically. So I'm plucking right here, which is on, I guess actually, this, let's see, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17th fret. That's where I'm starting. So I'm going. Let me turn it up so you can hear me a little better. Okay, I think it's time I can sit back down now since I'm done with the 8-finger stuff where it's more comfortable, you know. Let's switch my guitars. Hang on. Oh, boy. Get a guitar pick back again, of course. For my amp. Ready for some more fun licks, huh? This is going to be lick number 12. That's going to be from the song When You Close Your Eyes. that solo was in the middle of the song, and what I liked about it, well, the way I wrote it, was to have a nice mellow solo that fit the song. Sometimes you don't have to put every lick you know into every song you do. In fact, you end up sounding like a mechanical guitar player all the time if you're always burning through everything. If you show some taste and subtlety sometimes, it can present you as more of a well-rounded guitarist, and that's why I put that solo in. I'll show you how it goes even a little slower. The cool thing about that solo, at least in my mind, is the fact that it shows a lot more emotion and feeling than a typical burning solo. Sometimes the guitar solo has to really sing a part. You have to take breaths, as you do when you're singing a part, and you have to take pauses and show just little inflections of your own personality within a solo. That's what gets me about the solo when you close your eyes. The next one we're going to do, which is number 13, is a solo from Touch of Madness. What this part has double guitars. Brad and I are playing the two same identical parts. He's playing one octave lower than I am, and that noise you hear right there is my chair squeaking. It's been going on through the whole tape, and I know it's probably irritating you, but don't let it bother you anymore. This next thing, I'm going to show you what I'm doing real slowly. It's the cool thing about the lick is it's a really weird finger pattern, and it's more of an exercise than it is a nice harmonic lick. You know, it just sounds good in the song. Because that lick right there is really strange for your fingers. It goes, which is really a good exercise for your little finger, which is a real pain in the butt, I know. This is lick number 14. It's off a song called Interstate Love Affair. And this is the ride-out solo I did. And it starts underneath the vocals during the ride-out. I'm gonna do it in two parts. It's gonna be 14 and 15. 14 is this part. I'll show you right here. And that's kind of a trademark lick for me. I use that a lot in a lot of things you'll find out. I got a couple more things I'll show you later on. I do a lot of the things with that kind of stuff. So I'll do that for you real slow now. This is lick number 15, and it's the scale I use to climb up to the same lick I just showed you in 14, but an octave higher. It goes like this. I'm going to play that for you real slow now. And the lick I'm ending up on, as was lick number 14, is basically the notes of the chord, but I just play them arpeggio style. That's one of my trademarks that we've been noticing lately. Here it is real slow. I'll play it for you. Okay, this is going to be lick number 16. And this is probably going to be the last one on electric guitar. But this is one that I wrote. It's more of a melodic counterpoint type of lick, where I'm keeping these two fingers, my second and third fingers, doing the same thing in two different places. My first index finger is going around and making the countering harmonies and melodies. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to do the licks for you slowly now, but before I do, I want to make one point real clear. All the licks that you're learning from this tape and other Starlicks tapes are real good for the people that played those licks, but what they should be for you is they should act as guidelines for developing your own style, because one of the most important things in today's guitar playing is individuality and having an original identity, because it's really neat to be able to turn on the radio and hear somebody and know who you're hearing by the way they're playing. And it's getting really harder because there's a lot of competition out there. So try and develop a nice style and have your own sound. Okay, here's that lick real slow. For my next lick, which is going to be number 17, I'm going to switch over to an acoustic guitar, get in some finger picking styles and some flat picking techniques that probably will help your coordination. Wow. This is my baby. This is one of my favorite guitars. Skilled F412 12-string, all maple sides and back and a spruce top, and it's one of the prettiest sounding guitars, which really makes it a lot more fun to play. Okay, one of the things I want to show you is a picking pattern with a flat pick, which was used in Let 'Em Run, which was on our second album, Midnight Madness. And I'll just show you the intro lick. And my picking hand this time goes in between the strings in a pattern. So it's okay, what I'm doing there is flat picking, but it's precise technique or a pattern that I'm doing. It's going. Just to make that real clear, the notes I'm hitting are 5th string, 2nd string, 3rd string, 4th string, 1st string, 2nd string, 3rd string, 4th string. This is going to be lick number 18, which will probably be the final lick, but maybe be one of the most helpful licks for developing your right hand technique. If you want to do the 8-finger thing, if you want to be able to finger pick, if you decide to take a piano or whatever, getting the dexterity between your 4 fingers and your thumb and your right hand is really important. There's a song on our newest album called Goodbye, which is the final song on the album, and I think it befits this moment because this is going to be the last lick of this tape. What I'm doing is I'm doing the same pattern I did in lick 17, which is the same, except I'm using the low E string instead of the A string. This goes like this. What I'm doing is I'm using all 4 fingers. A lot of people finger pick with just their 3 fingers and their thumb, which can be restraining if you're trying to do any kind of intricate picking patterns, which I'm sure you'll develop in your time of playing. This is just something I came up with where I like to use my little finger. I used to play with these 3 in the thumb, and I had to learn to change my style because I wanted to have more dexterity in my small finger. So what I'm doing real slowly is down here on my picking hand, low E, B string, the 2nd string, G the 3rd, D the 4th, then the high E, B, G, D. Then it changes to the A bass string. That concludes this tape. And one of the most important things to remember about this is that I can't teach you how to play guitar. You got to teach yourself. The things that I've shown you here through the, miracle of television and all that is something you can use to your advantage. A lot of people I've known have said, oh, they played guitar for 20 years, but in those 20 years they only spent maybe an hour a week playing. It's not years, it's how many hours and minutes you put into practicing your instrument. And if you truly believe in it, you'll spend more time with it than you do with anything else. So it's not going to come to you easy, because it didn't come to me easy or anybody else that's done these Starlix tapes. It took a lot of hard years of work, and if you're willing to put it in, you'll end up just as good as anybody else. So with that, good night.